Hi guys, I'm Aussie and welcome to my Football Manager 2019 experiment where we've basically skipped forward 100 years to see what football looks like. Now today we're going to have a look at Manchester United, see how they look in 100 years. Now we can see, still in the Premier League, looks like they may have flirted with relegation there that season, but let's go and have a look at the overview and see what we've done here. 8 Champions League titles, that's not that many. 22 Premier League titles, again, they've only won 2, I think I can make that, in the 100 years. So that we'll check that a bit more in a second here. But it doesn't look off the surface of that like it's been a massively successful 100 years. If we go to competitions, let's have a look here. We'll go back to honours and see what has been won. Champions League, 8 titles. So they've won it twice, 2 back-to-back years in the 60s. Runners up, looks like a couple of times there as well. Premier League, they've won that a few times there. Let's runners up. Sorry, they've won it. Well, so this year in the game they've won it, and then not for 100 years. Manchester United went 100 years without winning the league title. Almost 100 years. Sorry, just short, isn't it? Maths. What close a few times, but 100 years without winning. That just seems inconceivable, doesn't it? FIFA World Cup. They won that twice. The World Club Cup. And yeah, I mean Europa League's 11 times winners. So. I mean, it looks like Manchester United, are they the new Arsenal? It looks as though that could be the case, doesn't it? So that's the honours. Let's go and have a look at how they've done in the domestic leagues here in the Premier League. Now, just first things first, I only see Premier League there. So they didn't get relegated. 100 years didn't get relegated, but you wouldn't expect them to. So there's a few seconds there, fifths. This is a sort of 100 years in the future. Things are pretty much as you would expect. We go down here. 16th in 100 years on from the treble, and they almost got relegated in the 98-99 season, of course 2098-99. So it looks like they were struggling a little bit there, flirted with relegation again there. Look at that, 17th in the early 90s. So fair to say, I think that the 2090s weren't as good as the 1990s for Manchester United. I don't think they wouldn't have been in the Champions League at any of those years. It looks like it would have been quite the gap of time out of the Champions League too. Look at that, mid-table through the 80s as well. So surprisingly, I think it doesn't look as though it was, in Premier League terms anyway, a particularly successful 100 years. And that does really surprise me because, I mean, it's a second place there, but yeah, they do not win it for 100, or the best part of 100 years. Was it 97, 98 years? We're coming into sort of more modern times now, and I mean, that's not bad, is it? Second, third. I mean, I'm a Villa fan. I would kill to come second and third in the Premier League every year for the best part of a decade. But this current season, and God love you, Manchester United, but you're not winning the Premier League this current season. But in the game, you do. And then Jose, maybe he goes on in a more appropriate manner, maybe, than what ended up happening this season. But in the Premier League, that, to me, looks a lot like a mid-table team. But credit to them, haven't been relegated, so that's the main thing, I guess, isn't it? Let's go have a look at, what else have we got here? Let's have a look at the Champions League. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Where's the current times is here. So they are the Champions League winners next season, beating Manchester City in the final. There you go. That would have been a classic, wouldn't it? They've lost in the semi-finals. So the 20s, they're regular qualifiers. First knockout round to Sevilla. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? They were the champions in 2026-27 season, beating Monaco. They lost in the final to Dortmund the following year. Semi-finals, quarter-finals, first knockout round. So it seems like it's relatively normal service till sort of the mid or early 30s. Then they struggle to qualify. They lose to Paris in the first knockout round, and then they don't qualify again for the 50s. Quarterfinals, 50s to sort of early 60s. The third, they didn't get out of their group. They win it 2 years in a row there in the 60s, beating Arsenal and Man City in the finals. They go the next year to the semi-final. Manchester City get a little bit of revenge. First knockout round, and then, I mean, the 60s and 70s, they're decent, aren't they? They are decent years. And then there's another massive gap, and then it looks like they're semi-regular qualifiers again, then first knockout round, quarter-final, semi-final. But I tell you what, in 100 years, don't get out of their group that year. In 100 years, you would expect more, wouldn't you? Knocked out by Liverpool. you'd expect a lot more than that from Manchester United, that's for sure. So this surprises me. Europa League, I mean, this is more, looks like they're in this more often. Well, not more often, but actually, you know what? There's a number of years that they've missed out on Europe altogether, and we kind of should have figured that out from looking at the Premier League results. Lost to Spurs in the final. Beat Porto in the final that year. Lost to Arsenal in the final. First knockout round semi-finals to Cardiff. Lost to Cardiff in the semi-final of the Europa League. I wonder if Cardiff went on to win it that year. I did go through and do the Champions League and the Europa League 100 years in the future. So do look for that. It's all on the same playlist, on the Football in 100 Years playlist, if anything of that strikes your interest. So they lifted it a few times in a row here. Look, they dominate. They do Atletico Madrid or Sevilla, don't they? They dominate it in the early 2100s. They beat Standard Liège, Sparta Prague, Arsenal, and Southampton, all in the finals. And then they lost another final there to Atletico Madrid. And then they won it again on penalties against Dortmund. Lost to City in the second knockout. Lost a Manchester derby in the Europa League. That's disgusting. That shouldn't be happening, should it? And then lost to Arsenal as well. So if these are the teams in the Europa League, it does make me wonder who it is that's doing so well in the Premier League and in Europe. Anything else there? FA Cup. We don't particularly care about this, I don't think. But beat 2 in a row there against Arsenal and Reading in the finals. Beat Arsenal and Liverpool again. Oh, there's a good one for you, beating Liverpool. I know I'm kind of in the way here, aren't I, with it over this side. If you look at, but it gets above my head here, but it looks just not really many finals there either, is there? Here we go. They win one down here against Manchester City. That'd be a classic, wouldn't it? Looks like City got their revenge the next season, though. Another win against City in the final. And then that's it. This is probably getting below my head now. But you beat Liverpool that year, so that's a good one. Beat Leicester and Everton as well. And I know you can't see that, but there was nothing else really there. Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing perhaps. Let's go and have a look at the records. So we know that they've won it. That's what was this? Their first is their best. Most points in a season, 93 in a very recent season, 21, 11, 12. Fewest points, that's an old record. Most wins in a season, 29 in the, that's a few years' time in the 2023-24 season. Again, these are all old records. Fewest league draws in a season, only one draw in a year. That's insane. That's just a couple of seasons gone in the game, isn't it? Because it would have been last year, so 99 years in the future. Highest attendances, a 94,500 capacity at against Brighton. I wonder, but we'll have to have a look at what Old Trafford looks like, or if you are at Old Trafford. We'll have to go and have a look at all that information as well. Biggest win, that's an old one. It's a standing record. Biggest transfer, 143,000 on Dybala in 2019 in the game. And 150 million for Trevor Holloway to Spurs in 2049. So there we go. Most league goals by a player. Now, Rooney's record has gone to this Jordan Jeffs. Can we have a look at him? He's retired. Got him from Arsenal, went on, played 583 games, 326 goals. That is impressive, isn't it? I wonder if he'll be in the all-time 11. We'll have a look at that in a second as well. Giggs' appearance record, though, that still stands. That's going to take some beating, though, isn't it? I think it was over 750, wasn't it? Total games. That's league appearances. So that's just an insane record. Tom Reed, that's a new record. 15 years old when he played for Manchester United. What a life. Fastest goal, Milinkovic-Savic got that in 2026, 9 seconds against Manchester City at home. That would have been a derby to be at, wouldn't it? Cole still has the most goals in a game. Assists is kind of a 28's not bad, but it's kind of a not really you can do much about it. 22 Man of the Match awards for Jordan Jeffs. I wonder if there's a Jordan Jeffs a statue or maybe a stand named after him at the ground now. So let's go and have a look at the overview of the clubs. Have a look at the facilities here. So it's still at Old Trafford. It is a 94,500 seat stadium though now. It was rebuilt in 2006, but we already knew that. Anything else here? It's everything state of the art, looking good. 15-year sponsorship. So nothing else has really changed there, but it is still Old Trafford though. So almost 210 years on, still at Old Trafford. That's, I got to say, I'm not a United fan, but that strikes me as nice. I like that. Keeping the history. Now, this is the all-time 11 of the past 100 years. Now, first things first, do we see any current players? Leon Bailey is a current player. David De Gea, Milinkovic-Savic. So there's a few there. David De Gea is the only current player, though, that is still in the team. Now, can we have a look at any of these players here? Diego Peretta, 346 games. It looks like he's long retired. Oh, no, here we go. He is still at the club, so we can see he's a decent player here, isn't he? Let's have a look at the milestones here. Let's have a look at what do we want to look at here. Awards, probably, don't we? Does that include competitions? No, probably not competitions. So he's a Brazilian. He's won the Community Shield, won the Champions League with Manchester United as well. Europa League. There was a winner, right? Oh no, Champions League runners-up. Sorry, I didn't read that properly. UEFA Super Cup runners-up. Won the FA Cup. So it hasn't been a sort of a wildly successful time at the club, but he's done okay there, hasn't he? He's won a few trophies, a Premier League title, and given the 100 years that we've seen that they've had, that's pretty good. But 346 appearances for the club. Ian Ozan, can we look at him? He's played 600 games. Now I tell you what, he could go. No, because that's not league games. So he could go close to Giggs' record, but that's club appearances, and not league appearances. League appearances here we can see it's up there, but he's probably at about 500. So if he goes on though, he's what 30? You say he was 34. So if he goes on, he could brush against that record, couldn't he? He looks like a really, really good defender. If we look at career milestones here for him, who's there for the Community Shield. I mean, it's all part of this current squad, it looks like, that he probably has similar sort of achievements, won the Europa League as the goalkeeper. Again, Champions League runner-up. Won the World Cup with Germany. It's good to see Germany still in the World Cup, isn't it? Like, woo! Again, there's a one for the World Cup as well in 100 years, so that might be worth checking out if you're so inclined. Yeah, but decent enough player there. Mert De Mural, just under 300 games. Again, he's still at the club. He's only 28, and what a defender this guy is. What a defender. We have a look here. We kind of know what the players have achieved at this point. A couple of Premier League titles. But look at that, really good ratings. Like, you picked him up from Bayern Munich, 95 million. And of course, he was at a Turkish club before that, as you would expect. Let's have a look here at Nicholas Espindola. We've got to do Frederick here first. 127 games. He's no longer at the club. He looks like he's on a free transfer. I tell you what, you'd sign him. You would definitely sign him. Has he just been released? He has just been released. Looks like he's been out on loan quite a bit, though. So it surprises me this guy's in the best 11, if I'm honest. He's played 3 seasons, and it looks like he's been released. So that's maybe a little bit surprising that he's there. Nicholas Espinola, 300, just under 400 games for the club. He's moved on as well. Now, Bayanas, they are... I'm not sure where they are, to be honest. UAE. That's probably why I recognise it from Asian Champions League. So we can see here, we picked up on a free transfer from Sevilla, played a number of seasons. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 seasons at the club. Maybe not 9 and a bit. Did relatively well. Again, he's in this modern generation. We know roughly what they've achieved at the club. So yeah, decent player. Now, Leon Bailey, now he is a current player. We know that. He played 300 games, 102 goals, and he's a winger, unless I'm mistaken. So he has had a good time at Old Trafford, hasn't he? We can't really see anything more about his career, unfortunately, but we can see there, pretty much got him in the prime of his career, I'd say. Picked him up in about 3 years' time in real life, and he was at the club for 11 years. So he's stood the test of time, 100 years, Leon Bailey. Mbola here, let's have a look. Again, he's at the club, 32 years old, looks a decent midfielder. You can see why they're doing okay recently, can't you? Definitely an improvement. Picked up from Benfica on a free, and look at that. Look at the assists, look at those average ratings over the years. That is a really, really good player. Chipped in with goals as well. 32 years old. I wonder, how many games has he played? 530. Another one that... Was he 32? He could brush again. He could brush against that record, but unlikely, isn't it? It's probably unlikely. I think this Osden's the most likely to perhaps go on and beat that record. Nae Tao Ho, I'm going to guess he might be Korean. 464 games, 80 goals. Is he in the current squad? He's a free agent. Oh, again, look how good he is. You wonder why they've let him go. I'm assuming they've just let him go. He's 36, so perhaps that's why. No, he was at Real Madrid. £110 million, signed him from Arsenal. Again, looks like he spent the best part of 10 years at the club before moving on to Real Madrid. Only $26.5 million transfer fee. You wonder if they've not. I wonder what the circumstances around that transfer were. Because even now, you consider him as a Manchester United sort of quality player. Even at 36, 142 caps, 49 goals. He's a defensive midfielder. That's impressive. Another Korean it looks like here, Shin Kyun-ho, 32 years old, still at the club. A striker is he, or a winger perhaps? Look at that dribbling. He looks quite good. I wonder if South Korea's done anything in international competition, because that's a couple of good players now we've seen for them. Signed from Dortmund, 108 million. Look at these goals, 20, 18, 18, 13, 13, 28 and 14. He is still delivering for them. And how old was he? 28, was it? 32, sorry. So a couple more years left in him maybe. But he has got 191 goals for the club. Jordan Jeffs, almost 500 goals for Manchester United in 794 games. So he would have beaten Giggs's, I don't know, I can't forget what Giggs's all-time record was. I didn't think he got to 800, or did he? Maybe he did. So he could perhaps be, overall, Manchester United's most appearances, but just not in the league. That's a career, isn't it? He would definitely have a stand or a statue or something. That's statue. That's more than statue worthy. That's got to be a stand, surely. Cedric Monazoro, we can't really see anything more of him. He's French. When did he retire? He's been gone since the 80s, so he's been gone for a while now. 559 games, 203 goals. You can definitely see why he is also in that lineup, can't you? 303 goals. That's 1 in 2 over 600 games. That's not bad. De Gea, he was 500 games he ended up playing, or 635 games for the club. 302 goals conceded. Looks like he saw out his career at Old Trafford, and I think there's a lot of Manchester United fans that would like that to be the case. 596 games. He did wonderfully well. Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. I personally love this guy. I've signed him. If you I have a couple of Let's Plays going. So I've signed him for my Arsenal team, and he is just a beast. So 451 appearances, 121 goals. He's a midfielder, and I'm not surprised, to be honest, that he's in there. He's a wonderful, wonderful player. We have another guy here, Kuring. I can't do foreign names. I really struggle. So he's Chinese. That doesn't look like a Chinese name, does it? But he spent some time at the club, 419 games, 61 goals before going to Spurs and off to MLS. When did he leave? So he was around a lot of that. What was that, 30s to 50s? So that was in the dark days, wasn't it? That was when Manchester United weren't doing much in the game. So he would, I dare say, be a bit of a cult hero, wouldn't he, as sticking around, being probably the standout player in what I imagine would otherwise been a relatively poor team. Jeroen Roussel, 36 years old. He again is retired. He was at the club so from the 2027 to 2039, 12 years at the club. Again, that was again, I think, the dark days, wasn't it? It wasn't when Manchester United were as we know them. He was a striker. Not perhaps the best goal-scoring record. Maybe a little bit of a surprise that he is in there. Paul Clark, 364 games, lots of goals. I don't know that Paul Clark is Italian, but sure. He was at the club, again, in those dark days. So he's done well. He's been in this, considered a Manchester United legend for quite a while now. But yeah, we can see there what he did. Jean Gomez, or Gomez, if you want to pronounce it correctly, Colombian, retired at 37. He was at the club for 12 years. Was it from 2028 to 40? Again, they were the dark days. He was a defender, 391 games, 19 goals. That's pretty solid for a defender, isn't it? And obviously fondly remembered. And finally, Jonathan Sanchez, 413 games, 181 goals. That's not a bad record, is it? He's still around as a director of football. He must have only just retired. Can we go and have a look? Oh, was it the West Sydney Wanderers? Way to ruin a career. I'm a Sydney FC fan, for anybody who wasn't already aware of that. Looks like he was here for, what was he here for? 10 years, near enough, 9 years. Got some goals. He was, I was assuming, a striker. Can we see what, did we miss what he was there? It's probably not going to tell us, is it? Colombian international, though. If you can see it, then that's great. I can't see what he was. I'm assuming a striker, judging by some of that goal return, maybe a midfielder. But yeah, picked up from Austria, sold on to Czech Republic, and in the meantime, he was just a wonderful player for Manchester United, it looks like. Again, he's in this sort of modern team, so we know roughly what he's achieved. But there we go, guys. That is Manchester United the next 100 years. I dare say Manchester United fans are going to be disappointed with that. But if you have enjoyed that, please do hit the thumbs up. And if you are new, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We will be doing more of these. If you have a club you'd like to see, do make a request. Check out the playlist. But until next time, I've been Aussie Villain. Thank you for watching. Take care.